Yeah. So the reason hopped on today is because I got this new webcam. My old one kept on fritzing out when I was doing lives, and it was bothering me quite a bit. This one is a Lenovo as well as the old one, but let's see, this is a Lenovo 510 or 510 FHD, which I don't really understand or know what that means. But FHD webcam, it's a performance webcam. So it's pretty cool. It's really clear, a lot clearer than my last one. So yeah, I mean, you get a full shot of the of the room. Um, of course, the trans flag. What you can't see is I have over here, it's a pan romantic ace flag. Um, I am not ace. Well, I'm demi, but also pan. I don't, that sounds like it's clashing, but I don't think it really does. In other words, I can go for, and let me just skip that to not pan, but buy. Because I understand now buy and pan. I still don't understand the difference between them, to be completely honest. The only thing I understand is that buy is more than just man or woman. It's all genders, any gender. Um, I don't know if pan is something where like bi is something where you may have a preference for a specific gender, and pan is just any gender, like anything that happens. I don't know. I think that's probably the same thing as bi. Hey AJ, what's up? And if it's the same thing as bi, I'm going to claim bi because honestly, as I've said before, this flag right here, let's see if we can get it up here. This flag, don't like it. Ugly, ugly, ugly. I don't have a buy flag. I had one, but I gave it away. Um, and so it was for a good cause. So I'll have to get another one. Of course, I don't have my non-binary flag either because I gave that away too. Oh, I'm such a generous person. Yeah, no, I do get my friends who come out. I give them a flag. So I have actually the lesbian flag right over here. I don't know if you can see it in that chair. It's the orange, and you can see a little bit of the white. Um, that is for a friend who has just come out, and so that will be going to her. Yay! Um, in trans, because I am non-binary, I use the pronouns she, them, or she, they. And I like it when people, when talking about me, um, in the same paragraph or in the same, oh no, in the same phrasing, um, use something like this. Uh, OnyxRose was going to the store. She had to pick up some milk, bananas, and eggs, and they were going to come home pretty quickly. You see what I did there? I used both of my pronouns. And so I like that mixed in. And I do that for anybody with she, they pronouns, he, they pronouns, or, any type of pronouns that may be different than he, him, or she, her, something like that. So if it's, just any type of neo pronoun where it's different, like if someone goes by it, it's, she, and I will use it, she in the same paragraph, same phrasing, so on and so forth. Um, yeah. So that the webcam is really awesome. I cannot wait to use it when I go live with like Wendy the Druid, which is Trauma Talk, the Deep Exhale. I think that is. Oh no! Hold on. There we go. That's going to be Monday. It's usually at 1. Sometimes we'll kick off at 2. Sometimes 2:30. Um, but be watching out for that because we'll definitely be on Monday. Monday afternoon, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern. I am on live with Brandon Elrich is so gay, and the Sturge writes it down. That is the day before Trans Day of Visibility, which is Tuesday the 31st. Um, so Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Brandon, Sturge, and myself will be live, and usually our lives last close to 2 hours. And they get kind of crazy because we play things like Fuck Mary Swipe Left. Um, they are two gay individuals. So, and I am bi or pan, I don't really care. I just like the bi flag. So I'm going to say bi. Um, so I'm bi. Um, Basically, I don't, here's the thing, like cis men, cis hetero men, I should say. Um, I don't know if it's just that I have a block. I can appreciate the aesthetic of a uh, cis hetero man, but I never find them attractive. In the sense of ooh, with the exception of one, and it's kind of funny because this one man, um, let's see. He's like he knew me before I transitioned. Um, and when I transitioned, he changed his name in my name in his phone. Um, and automatically from the very beginning, started using my name, started calling me ma'am. This was back when I came out as a binary trans woman. And so that's what he knew me as, and that's how he still kind of knows me. Because like I'm not going to get into the interest, and I'm not going to use that word because I can't pronounce it in my head right now. Intricity, never mind. There's no reason to get into the like nuts and bolts with him. He is not that kind of person. But here's the thing: he gives me butterflies. There, I said it. Whenever he says my name. But that's the only cis straight guy that's ever done that. Um, queer guys, yeah, no, girls, trans women, trans girl. Not okay. Hold on. Let me back the fuck up there. I don't mean girls. I mean women, like all kinds of women. Um, Mask, studs, um, straight, cis, trans, um, non-binary people, and I do not discriminate when it comes to non-binary people. I am not like assigned female at birth non-binary or assigned male at birth non-binary. If you say you're non-binary and I find you attractive, and I find a connection with you, then that's cool. I mean, and once again, all this is theoretical because I am with Egg, and Egg is monogamous, even though I am not. Um, but I am monogamous for Egg. So that's kind of how that goes down. Um, you know, that's okay. Um, we've been together for a long time, so I'm kind of used to that, and that's okay. So let me just do a little cheering. Yay. I don't know if y'all can hear that. I can hear it, and it makes me joy. It gives me joy. It's my little podcast machine, and it has little buttons like a gunshot, a laughter, an opening, a booing. So yeah. So we're loving it here. And so one of the other things that happened today is that if you look really nice and neat at my hair, I got my locks retwisted. Um, by Salon Egg. Egg is Egg does my locks. And when I tell you this, if you know anything about locks, you know that they can cost a lot to get a retwist. First of all, to start, and to maintain costs quite a bit. Like people think you just, don't wash your hair for, and that's the way you can do it, it's called freeform. You don't have to, yeah, I mean, you do wash your hair, but you don't train it. You just let your hair grow in as it grows in, and it'll lock. Mine needed a lot of help. I tried multiple times, starting in the early 80s to lock my hair. And my hair grows in really fine. So it's kind of s thin, so at the beginning, it then, like, becomes a natural curl pattern, but, and coarser, but at the root, it's really thin, so and it grows in really thin, about this high. So my hair wouldn't lock, and so finally we got it to lock. I was going to a salon, and the salon I was paying $180 every 2 weeks to lock and maintain my hair. That's a lot of money, but back then I was making that kind of money. So, so I did that every 2 weeks for a year and a half. And, Egg and I were like, there's got to be a better way to do this. I just can't afford to continue paying that kind of money. And, honestly, going to the salon every 2 weeks, while it was fun to chit chat and all that good stuff, have salon talk, um, you know, it ultimately it just became a pain in my butt. So, Egg she watched a couple YouTube videos and tried her hand at it, and great hands she has. She knows how to do it. So, like, she twists my locks, retwists my locks all the time. Um, she will put my locks in my signature pigtails, because that's my signature hairstyle. I've been wearing those pigtails for a long time. Before my hair was this long, it was, like this long, and it was little babies. So I had nice little baby poopy tails, and they looked really cute. Now mine are just really long, and they still look really cute. They're just really long. We cut about 8 inches off of my locks. Oh, I don't know, like, I don't even think it's been a year, to be completely honest, and my hair is, almost back down, like, some of the locks in my hair are touching, like, my back part right next to my butt, so the, lower back area. um so my hair grows fast, and I haven't been losing any of it, thankfully. That's the one thing I worried about, because both of my parents lost and continue to lose their hair. Um, I am hoping that I get to keep my hair as long as possible. Um, I have been thinking about, hey, Luca, thanks for coming in. I have been thinking about, of course, and I've been thinking about this for a long time. And when I say years, I'm talking about years, years, maybe, I don't know. Let's see. The first time I saw this was probably in the, I don't know, I want to say mid 2000s, like, so 2005, 2006. And it was somebody who had locks, and they had shaved one side, and then had a tattoo right there. So that's kind of what I would like to get. But of course, like, shaving one side of my locks is something that kind of makes me nervous, because I've had locks for a long time, and it's just something that I think would. I don't know. I am not used to me without locks. I have pictures, but those pictures are not me. Or they were me, but they're not me because they were me before I transitioned. I don't have any pictures of me transitioned. I mean, not transitioned with locks. So when I transitioned, I also grew locks. Um, and yeah, so my retwist is awesome. It's fresh to death, and, I got it back in a messy bun right now, so you can't see the rest of it, but, um, the retwist, is successful. It takes about, honestly, 45 minutes to wash my hair. I have to do triple passes, and the water makes my hair so heavy, and it's hard to get the conditioner out, so on and so forth. Not the conditioner, the shampoo. But so 45 minutes, and then the retwist itself takes about an hour. And actually today, Egg did it under an hour. I think she did it right around 50 minutes. So, she's getting better, she's getting faster. I'm sitting better. So that way she can work faster. Um, and we just knocked it out today. Now my hair is not dry, and it won't be dry until sometime tomorrow morning, because it just takes forever to dry. But it looks good, and that's what I'm happy about because it was looking rough. I had like little rooster sprouts coming out. And while I love chickens and roosters and all that, the look was not good on me. So yeah. Um, I wanted to talk, and I don't really. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick. I don't know if y'all have heard about the Idaho crap that's going on, the absolute nuts um, Idaho ban on trans people using the bathroom in public or in private, I believe. Aaron in the morning, Aaron in, Aaron Reed, Aaron in the morning, Aaron Reed. Okay, so Idaho passes the most extreme bathroom ban in the nation, creating a path to life in prison. Get that. Just try to conceptualize that. Uh, Life in prison for using the bathroom, for relieving yourself. So let me see. Hey, Jolie, let me see. So this is what it says. Um, A first offense would be a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 1 year in prison or in jail. A second offense with 5 years would be a felony, carrying up to 5 years in state prison. Oh, it says a second offense within 5 years would be a felony, and it would carry a 5 year sentence in prison. Yes. The penalties don't stop there, it says. Under Idaho's persistent violator statute, a trans person convicted of a fourth bathroom offense, their third felony, could face a mandatory minimum 5 years and up to life in prison. So, and let's see if it does say where the states that any person who knowingly and willfully enters a restroom or changing room in a government-owned building or place of public accommodation designated for use by the opposite biological sex of such person shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 1 year. And so it just goes on. Notably, these provisions apply to private businesses, and the bill explicitly allows prior convictions under a similar statute in another state. So, it's getting kind of crazy. Like, it's not getting kind of crazy. It has been crazy, and they're just stepping up the crazy. Um, so the what this means is that a trans person, you know, under another state's bathroom ban could face a felony um, with their first offense in Idaho. So that is in and of itself crazy. I really don't understand what is going on and why they hate me and my people so much. Like, come on now. So of course it's saying that it drew sharp criticism. ACLU, Fraternal Order of Police, also. So the Fraternal Order of Police were like, screw this bill too. And the reason why they're saying that is because it says in many circumstances there is no clear or reasonable way for officers to make that determination without engaging in questioning or investigative actions that could be viewed as invasive and inappropriate. So basically, they mean body searching, like drop your pants, let me see what you got down there, and I will determine whether you can use the bathroom at all or you go to jail. Um, it has not been signed into law yet, so that's good. Um, I'm trying to see what else it says. Yeah, Idaho's bill is it's the craziest bill. Um, yeah. I just don't know. And so this came out today that in Atlanta, Georgia, who is this? Hi, Elias. Is that how I say it? Elias Shepherd Marrow. Hi there. It's come out today in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's where I live. I live in Atlanta. Um, and Atlanta is a solid blue city, and metropolitan area. Aloha. Um, it is a solid blue, the whole metro, solid blue. And what came out today is the Republican Senate and House, because they own the Senate and House and governor. What they're going to do is try and, of course, redistrict, redraw, gerrymander all of uh, Atlanta in the metro so that Republicans can win Atlanta, thereby solidifying their hold on the state of Georgia, um, and probably then following the way of states like Texas, Florida, um, Oklahoma, Kansas. Like Georgia is just one step away from them, and I'm surprised that Georgia has not been more strict. I do think it's because there are some blue pockets that people don't know about. And I really do think that's the only reason that Georgia has still made it without like bans like Texas, so on and so forth. Now, I do think in Georgia there is a bathroom ban. Uh, Let me see. I don't know if it's a bathroom ban or like an HRT ban, for like a puberty blockers ban for kids, trans kids, which is horrible that they make kids go through puberty, and the kids that know they're trans and know they want puberty blockers just to make sure and test. I mean, because puberty blockers, all they do is stop puberty or postpone puberty. If at any time uh, a child or someone who is taking puberty blockers with consent of their parents and their doctor, their therapist, their uh, their hormone doctor, at that point, if everybody agrees, then why, that's their decision. And it's also their decision to, at the age that is appropriate. I don't know what age that is, that is not for me to say, but at the age that is appropriate, if they choose to continue to transition, they would just switch from the puberty blockers and go straight to HRT. If they choose not to transition, they just stop taking the puberty blockers. and they have puberty. So, what I'm trying to say is the whole thing about the puberty blockers is once again just smoke and mirrors. It's just a way to distract. Um, and it works. It worked. People were like, puberty blockers, what are you doing to the kids? And I mean, really, like these are kids who need this and understand themselves better than anybody else could. And that's part of the problem here is that we know ourselves better than anybody else, and that goes for anybody. So for people to legislate other people out of existence, you know, um, that's kind of crazy. It just does not make any sense. Um, Thanks. Have a good one. Thanks for coming in. So I wanted to check, so the Georgia thing is definitely happening. Um, I heard that in Colorado, which is supposed to be a very safe state for trans people, they are now trying to run. There's a lot of money being pushed in Colorado by Republican or conservative people, conservative Christians, to um, to start with kids in schools, and then they'll work their way up. But if Colorado falls, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, unfortunately, I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about like what's going to happen to me. Like if Georgia goes batshit crazy, what do I do? And by extension, what does Egg do? Um, do we stay here and hunker down and see if we can make it through? Um, do we make a run for it? Try to go to another state. Um, do we make an even bigger run for it and flee the country? Um, I don't know. Like there were places that were being considered safe, which are no longer being considered safe. I have a friend who said Ecuador. I just don't. I have not done the deep dive on Ecuador. Now, for her, she is trans, but she is white, so Ecuador may be okay for her. I just don't know Ecuador and a black trans non-binary person femme leaning, so with a deep voice, who is married to a white queer woman. So we have a lot to factor in the whole trans thing, the whole deep voice thing, the whole femme thing, matched with the interracial marriage thing with a queer woman. That so you know a lot of times people may think we're straight except for the fact they see me wearing dresses and then they're like, okay, so something's going on there, and they usually think we're just good friends, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, that's me and the egg. But like flee, like where do we go? um Black and trans is a whole other level. Yes, yes. Yes, you're right. You were right. Rhode Island is safe and politically stable, but it's small and a bit more expensive to live in. Yeah, I thought about Rhode Island, and actually Delaware, so on and so forth, that whole eastern seaboard. But the weather would be a problem. I am not a snow person. um, that is why I like Atlanta because it rarely snows. I like Atlanta because it has a mix of people, like ethnicities, I should say, not race, but ethnicities and race. Yeah, so the construct of race. Um, So there are black people there. Like, first of all, Atlanta's the black mecca. Atlanta and Dallas, Fort Worth, places like that, Oakland, Baltimore, uh, Detroit, um, these are black meccas, but Atlanta is the black mecca. Like it's got the let's see, your son is biracial, black and gay. So yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, if your son is biracial, black, and gay, your son is seen as a black person, and that's, for it, unless he is white passing, meaning, he is able to pass as white or um, the other ethnicity, yeah, he is gonna be seen as black. And that's just, that's just and it's kind of funny because it's not funny, but I've had discussions with people who are biracial and or mixed, and we always discuss that if they get pulled over or if anything happens, they're going to be seen as black. Nobody's going to give a no one's gonna give, no one's gonna care if, they've got a white mom or a white dad, that is, yeah, so yes, Jolie, yes, and unfortunately, that has to be done, because, the one of the first things my when we moved to Atlanta, I lived on an army base up until we moved to Atlanta, um and so when we first moved to Atlanta, my mom told me, she was like, because where we lived was 98% white, in a very affluent place. And my mom told me, uh, do not, um, do not talk back to cops, keep your hands where they can see them. Um, do not do things that your friends would do, because if you get caught, you are going to be treated worse than them. The story that all parents tell their black children, especially their black, boy children. That is something that goes down in every black or you know, mixed household. That speech happens. You are going to be seen as a black person, and that comes with all the racism and bigotry and prejudice that can be thrown with it. And that sucks. And so Rhode Island, Delaware, Baltimore. We've thought about the Eastern Seaboard. We've thought about the Northeast. Um, Once again, weather. But safety is key. Like so even like going out to California is not something that neither Egg nor I want to do. Um, California just does not seem attractive to either of us. Um, you know, Portland sounds attractive, but honestly, I would feel like I need more color, skin folk, kinfolk, I really do. Like, because that in Atlanta and in the metro, there are a lot of black people, there are a lot of black people, and there are a lot of queer people, there are a lot of gay people, there are a lot of LGBTQIA plus people, it is the mecca in the Southeast for queer people. Um, and for black queer people. It's got Black Queer Pride, and it's the biggest in the Southeast, if not the entire United States. Dragon Con that same weekend, so this is all over Labor Day weekend, and then it's got Atlanta Pride, which is the largest in the Southeast. Um, that happens in October. And then like other smaller prides, around the state, which I've been to one of them and it was fabulous. So I'm going to go again this year. Um, oh, expensive. And are you in Rhode Island, Jolie? Let's see. Let me go back up. there aren't as many black people in Rhode Island, okay, as there are in other parts of the US, but there are more than the stats say, as many are also native. Yes, that is true. So I do know a few Native American people who live in that area, the Delaware and Rhode Island area. Yeah, no, I'm not going to California. Yeah, no California. Yeah, s- south of the Bay Area or like Oakland or that area. I don't know because I don't know south of the Bay. When I hear Bay, I just think Oakland. I don't know anything else. Um, if that's in California. So is that where it is? You're way south. Where's it? So okay, okay. I don't know California very well. I have not been to California when I have been old enough to remember it. I have been there, but I have not been there where I can remember. Um, there are a lot of black people in California. It's agricultural. Oh, well, yeah, it's kind of cool that California has, different, and just like Atlanta, different types of well, of ways to work, I should say. The word escapes me, so, and it happens quite a bit. But yeah, fields of work. Just Georgia has the same technology. Actually, in Atlanta, technology is big now, but the movie industry, celebrity, plastic surgery, all that stuff is big in the A because, all the Marvel Studios and Tyler Perry Studios. There's a lot of studios here. Um, but yeah, so Georgia is going the way of Florida, Texas, so on and so forth. I am just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and that's going to be soon. And from there, we're going to have to make a decision. Um, Neither of us wants to really leave. And we moved to South Florida, a place called Pembroke Pines, which is 15 minutes south of Fort Lauderdale, 15 minutes north of Miami. It's like right smack in the middle. And when we were there, we had 3 hurricanes, starting with Katrina. So Katrina hit us before it hit New Orleans, and that was, our power was out for about a month. We didn't have running water, no power, no nothing. It was a disaster. Um and then we had 2 more hurricanes. And then I got really sick and almost died. So at that point, we left and came back to Atlanta, and we've been here ever since. And we thought we were gonna stay. We never thought we were gonna leave. But current events are forcing our hands, maybe? Not trying to. Oh, really, Luca? Yeah. So Pembroke Pines is beautiful. It is actually stunning. It's placid almost, like Lake Placid. It's peaceful. Um, the trees. The problem I have with Florida is that it's so flat. And I'm used to Georgia, where the trees, there are pine trees and different kinds of trees. And they are Atlanta's called the city in the forest, because of specifically because of that. We have so many trees, and in springtime, it is so beautiful here. Like, it is so beautiful. But in Florida, it's like flat, and the trees are way up here. There's no coverage. It rains like every day, like for 20 minutes. Every day for 20 minutes. And in the winter, which is like 70 degrees, 60 degrees. people will pull out their puffer jackets, the big puffer coats. And I was like, all right, y'all, come on now. It's not that cold. But then I realized in Florida, yeah, that's cold. Now, recently, it's been getting colder in Florida. So, um, um, but yeah, Pembroke Pines was fun. It was fun, but there's a lot of in Florida, there's certain, at least in the area I was, Pembroke Pines, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, there's a certain machismo? I don't know if that's the right word, a certain toxic masculinity that I couldn't get down with. So I was happy to leave. Um, Atlanta's cool. I don't go out a lot. I don't drink, I smoke weed. I don't do anything else. I don't go out. I have a bestie, I've got egg. I don't really have a lot of in real life friends, you know. Yeah. Puff puff pass. Yeah. I don't really have a lot of in real life friends. I know Wendy in real life, Wendy the Druid, um, but I don't know anybody else in real life. Um, and I'm happy that I came on to Substack because I found a thriving queer community. Hey, what's up, Robes? How you doing? I found a thriving queer community. So, that helps me, because I needed that. And I think Egg needed that too. So when she comes on live with me, she is not the kind of person who would like to do lives. I get her on, and then she starts to do it, and then she likes it. She gets fine with that, and then it taps her out. It wears her energy down. Um, Whereas for me, like, I'm, like, kinda grouchy and shit at the beginning, like, before the live starts, and then once the live starts, like, I'm, like, kicked in, and then after it's done, I've got a little buzz for a little bit, so, and then, except for, like, trauma talk. Okay, so trauma talk's a different story. I do not get a buzz on trauma talk because trauma talk is trauma talk, and, when you're talking about trauma, it wipes you out. Um, and so the last I had a live with the poet Miranda, and you know, she had me bawling, just absolutely ugly crying. And then a poem I read, I couldn't even finish. It was just too painful, So that's trauma talk. Like we try and work it out. And we do it, in front of the camera, but in front of people so that people can understand like what we go through as trans people and how trauma informs us and has informed our lives and how we decided to come out and when we decided to come out, and what our transition looks like that's different from other people's transitions because no one transition is the same, no one transition story is the same. Now there can be narratives that are close, like one narrative is that it was either life or death, and I chose life. And that was my narrative, it was either life or death, and I chose life. I what really happened is I chose to transition. And that saved my life, that was what it was. I didn't choose life, I chose transition, and then transition saved my life. And so for anybody that says transition does not work and does not save people's lives, they're 100% wrong. And there are hundreds, no, not even hundreds, thousands of stories to back this up, that people didn't transition to live, they transitioned, to because they had to, and in that transition, they chose life, but the transition gave them life and all the shit that they had and we have been carrying. It doesn't disappear 100%, but it makes it easier to deal with. You understand more about yourself, and then your transition allows you um, to put some of the negative aspects away. Um, Trauma that has happened in the past, um, you know. Yeah. Right, right, Julie. Yeah, it is ridiculous to think it's not, life-saving. It is 100% life-saving, and, the whole like, thing that's going down now is, there's not it's so ludicrous because they're not even using real science, you know? They've paid people to come in, make these statements, not even do any studies, like, throw up a quick, like, 2-week study that's not even double blind or anything like that, study, like, a couple of detransitioners who and by the way, people who detransition, there are a number of reasons. Yeah, uh, just a very small amount. Like, so detransitioners are like out of like the 1% of the trans population, detransitioners are tiny, 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 tiny percent. So, like detransitioners will do this for several reasons. One is because they realize that they are not trans, and that is fine. Everybody has the right to explore their gender and decide for themselves. If they say they're trans and live a life as a trans person, and then come to the decision and understanding that they're not trans, that is fine. That nobody is saying you have to stay a trans person or rep the trends, you can do what you want. Um, but another reason people detransition is because of the political climate. And so what's happening now is you have people who are detransitioning. In other words, going back in the closet, stopping their hormones, dressing in the clothing of their assigned gender at birth, all so that they can go under the radar and undetected in this time. And that's legit too. Some people have to live that way, and that is understandable, and that is something that should be understood, that not all trans people need to be out loud and proud. You do what you can, you live the way you can until you can survive the way you want to, you know? So, a trans woman who wears jeans and a button-down shirt, and has a deep voice and, for all intents and purposes, looks like a guy, can still be trans, and if they tell you they're trans, you treat them as such. Even if they look like a guy and talk like a guy, if they say, "Yes, I am a trans woman," that is how you treat them. You respect them, you respect their pronouns, you know, always never assume pronouns. That's the other thing. You never know who's non-binary, who's trans. There are people who say they can tell, and yet some of the clocky trans people you can tell. One of them is me. Like, I am visibly trans. That's okay. I have no problem with that. Y- you know, but y- y- you know, for you know, just for it is don't assume people's pronouns. That's just what I do is I always say they. They is gender neutral. It's been used for millennia. So they is always the best way to go until you get their pronouns or you hear someone else use them, and then you can follow. Um, oh yay! Applause. Sorry, I just got I'm getting kicked on Mastodon because I uploaded some pretty cool stuff, some memes, and Mastodon's exploding for me right now. But yeah, so the whole trans blowback is I have to wonder what it is because in 2015 when I started transitioning, um, there was nobody looking at trans people. um, there was no hate for trans people. There was actually love for trans people. In 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And Donald Trump the first time around didn't fuck with trans people too much. if I'm correct. Like, I seem to remember not having much of a problem and not having people talk about me, so on and so forth. It's just this time around, like from his first day in office where he signed that executive order, it's just gone downhill. And now countries around the world are following suit. So Ireland is off the table. They are now following the UK in their gender critical ways and all of that good stuff. So, yeah, bye bye Ireland, which we thought was a safe place. Um, Portugal, bye bye, same thing. Portugal has now enacted some laws and the sad thing is, I know people who went to Portugal from the United States specifically so their children could have a safe life. And now that Portugal is enacting all these trans bans, just like Donald Trump and the United States, those kids are I that those families and those kids, I don't know what's going to happen. Are they gonna have to leave again? Um, right now, if I there's Costa Rica, that I can think of. There are a lot of expats, and specifically, excuse me, a lot of trans people and a lot of black people, and a lot of interracial couples. I feel like that would be good, although Egg hates the heat, so I don't know how well she would handle that, places like I wish there was a place we could go in Africa, but, my baba is in Africa, he's in Nigeria's southern state, Osun State, Nigeria, and, he was like, "Why don't you come on down, for the Osuna Shogo Festival?" And I was like, "Yeah, do you know what they do to people like me in Nigeria? They set people like me on fire. They throw big rocks at me. They will kill me. So I can't go to Nigeria, which sucks because that's where my spirituality is. Um, and I need at some point I'm going to need to go. Um, but things are going to have to change a lot in Nigeria for me to go. There are supposed to be some safe places in Africa because I think Africa is like 54 countries and like 12 of them are like safe for queer people, like LGB people. I don't know about T, or anything else, but LGB for sure. And I understand that South Africa is pretty safe too. I don't know if that's safe as in black people safe or safe as in white people safe, and those are two different kind of safes. So, um, but I've never been to South Africa. I know one person from South Africa. She is white. She is stunning. She's trans. And I don't say that to be like she's trans and she's stunning, meaning like how can a trans person be stunning? That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just like saying, oh my God, she's hot, she's beautiful, but she not but and she is trans and she lives in South Africa. So that's how I should have said it. We are in a group together. Yes, there we go. She's a person of trans experience. Yes, she happens to be trans. Yes. But yeah, so I know people like around the world, Scotland is supposedly safer for trans people. As it goes in terms of the UK and Scotland, Wales, so on and so forth. I haven't heard anything too much about Wales yet. Oh, so but then Portugal, Spain. I wouldn't want to live in Spain. Um, but Spain is supposed to be kind of safe. The problem with all of these European nations is that there is an undercurrent of racism. In Italy, black people openly get mocked, monkey chants, and thrown bananas at them, so on and so forth. They've made grown black men cry on the soccer on the football field. Um, you know, yeah, Spain doesn't like black people. Pretty much all European countries, the only one that I can think of that, I understand Malta may be okay, um, but the really, I'm trying to think, and really the only one that I can think of that's tolerable is Netherlands, Netherlands, meaning Amsterdam and Utrecht, are definitely safe spaces. Outside of that, um, it's tolerated. Like I would be tolerated, but it. I don't think there would be I don't think there would be any problems with me in Netherlands, like Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Utrecht, Den Haag. I think all those would be safe places. Hey, Joe. Yes. The world, yeah. So the strange thing about poor black and white people from whatever country is that it's the perfect trick that the white government did is to make poor white people think they are better than poor black people, you know? Just by the nature of them being white. When in the United States, there are more white people on welfare um, than black people. The stereotype, of course, is that black people are all on welfare while white people are not, but it's the opposite. And it is just it is the best trick ever played. In the United States to make Italians, Irish, um, Germans, French, anybody who came over to, make them think they were white and therefore superior to the poorer, uh, enslaved black people, but when in fact, and even now, it's class conscience. It's not race, or it shouldn't be race. It should be class. Like we are all, regardless of race, um, on on the same level. Like we don't have this kind of money. Who the people who have the money are controlling it and pulling the strings. We should all get together as a class or as a group of people who share the same interest, and that same interest is getting billionaires away from the power structure and rearranging it so that everybody lives and everybody gets a piece of the pie. Not so that two people have all the pie, but that everybody gets a slice before everybody gets another slice. So like we need healthcare, we need food security, we need housing security. Those are three things that every single person should have in the United States, in the world. You know, um, and there's enough money in the world to do this, um, you know, easily. Uh, of course, Musk and Bezos and whomever else could take care of this and like, like, I don't know, 2 days, 3 days. It's like, Bezos's old wife, Mackenzie, I don't remember her last name, but Mackenzie, she is just giving away money left and right. She's just throwing away like Oprah gave away cars and shit. Like, you get some money, and you get some money, and you get some money. Like, I don't know if y'all know Spellman, but Spellman is the premier, um black institution for women, and now trans women, and now non-binary people, which is strange because I don't know if they would like let a assigned male at birth, which I hate using for a non-binary person. I don't know if they would let them in Spelman. So Spelman is a all black college in HBCU. It is the most prestigious for women. My sister is gone. Um, she graduated from there. Um, Mackenzie has given hundreds of millions to HBCUs. Um, and this is at a time where Trump is cutting funding to black colleges. So, you know, this is Jolie, yes, yes. Um, she is definitely giving away the money. Uh, Praise the Tweety Bird at No Kings. Was there a Tweety Bird, like a big Tweety Bird? I didn't get to see all of that. I was getting my hair done today, you know, so I didn't go out in the land and stuff. I don't really, I don't really, and there's a reason why, and I'll tell you. And this may sound like a bad reason to you, but I'm a target, I'm a target. If I go out in a dress, um, and protest, I am a target. Like, white people can blend in with other white people, but a black person in a dress, um, and some big stompy combat boots, not combat boots, but platforms like Chucks or Doc Martens, anything like that. I know y'all think I harp on the black and white thing, but it really is something to the effect of where I feel like I would stand out more, and therefore when things go down, I would be one of the first people to be targeted. I don't want to be a target. And the other thing is consistently, black women have shown up and done the heavy lifting for the Democratic Party, consistently. Um, the people who don't do the heavy lifting are white middle class women. Uh, those are the people who uh, traditionally don't do the heavy lifting. And the reason why is because they are happy in their little suburbs and their bubbles. Um, they don't want to change the world, so they just don't do anything. Now that of course, they're not out protesting, but I'm not talking about protesting. I'm talking about just even talking to friends, relatives. I know so many, you know, I shouldn't say I know so many people, but I know people in the A whose parents are, like Trumpers. And I'm like, well, why aren't you talking to them? Why aren't you debating them? Why aren't you letting them know what's going on? Why aren't you showing them the numbers? There's so much data here, you know. As long as gas and then retirement accounts don't get hit. So yeah, gas got hit. So I actually, it was kind of funny because I told Egg to fill up the tank because gas prices were going to jump 30 cents. And the very next day they jumped 30 cents. And this is not because I'm psychic, but because I read the news. That's it. I read the news the night before, and it said it was, or the day before, and it said something about the oil in the Middle East not being able to get to its appropriate place. So, uh, oh no, hold on. Let's see. I'll never be able to make up for the sins of our fault. Yeah. And this is what I told Egg earlier today. The history right now is being rewritten by Trump and his administration. They're taking out all mention of trans people in any of the government documents. They are actively erasing Black museums. They're actively erasing women's museums and overtaking women's bodies. Um, it- yeah, no, no. I mean, I don't know. I forgot where I was going with that. I had a point, but it just slipped my mind. Um, it's just, yeah, as a class, I think we have. more of a way to win. So, and that includes this is end stage capitalism. Like it has to end. We have to go to a more socialist standing. I would think. I don't know about full on communism. That is not something I know about. I am not 100% on socialism, so don't come at me for that. You know, but from what I've read and from what I've heard, yeah, that's a lot better than capitalism. Like the fact that, like, yeah, okay, so the fact that my egg and my bestie work like honestly 40 to 60 hours a week. Um, and those extra hours they are not getting paid for because they're both salaried. Um, so when you put in 60 hours a week for your job that you don't get paid for those extra 20 hours, you know, are you really living a life and you do that for until you're 65? Are you living life? You may get a break. Do you take vacation? Um, like because the United States, people don't really take vacation. In Europe, they're like, "We'll be gone for 2 months, bitch. Bye." You can talk to us then. But in the United States, it's like, I've broken my leg. I'll be back tomorrow. Um, that's we just don't have a system in place to where people feel comfortable taking vacations. Um, yes, Jolie, white women and white men need to go ahead and fix this. We're not talking about the billionaire class. We are talking about people who can affect change at the lower levels. We'll be able to make up for our voters. Democratically instituted socialism seems viable. Yes, that is true, Luca. That is where I was kind of going. Democratic socialism. Free labor, yes. Um, what is it? It's mandatory in some countries to be on holiday for 30 days. And that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It would be so much more productive for people if they weren't scared that they had to use their sick day just to take their child into the doctor's not to the doctor's office, but somewhere else, and had to use their sick day, therefore not being able to have sick day when they're really sick. The fact that they only give like 2 or 3 sick days, is crazy. People get sick. You just can't help it. And the fact that like it's only, you don't get but 2 weeks when you start, if you're lucky, at a new job. You may get 2 weeks, may get 3 weeks. If you work 5 to 10 years, you may get a month of vacation time. Um, but that's 5 to 10 years, you know? That's a long time to, um to be working and not enjoying life. Oh, I know what I was saying. Okay, let me go back to it. So history is erasing us, not just trans people, but women, so and any lower people, queer people, poor people, what we need to do as hopefully everyone in here we're on Substack, so everyone in here is hopefully a writer or a content creator of some sort. What we need to do is we need to be the historians, the griots, the poets, the writers, the storytellers, the historians. We need to set the history as it is, as it was, pre-Trump. We don't want to let them rewrite history. We want to preserve history. We need to preserve it. And that's why I say poetry is so vital, extremely vital, because it captures the essence, the blood of the movement of the time. It can. Even short stories, orators, people who can speak, griots. Griots are storytellers from Africa, Ghana. Um, that pass tradition, pass down through the generations stories of their family and mythology, history, so on and so forth. So griots, just like bards, just like one would consider a bard in Celtic tradition. I believe bards are Celtic, um, and bards are just the same as griots. It's just bards are European and griots are West African. Um, so, but we need we need people who can write history, not who can like write history at a PhD level. Yeah, that would be great. We need them too, but we need people like me who can't write worth of fucking shit, but I can record some dates, and I can write my thoughts. It's not going to be anything deep, but it will be, on this day, this happened and this is how I felt. That is not something on its own that is earth shattering, but you know, together it is, because then we have this corpus, this literary corpus, that proves like, yes, trans people were around. Yes, trans people thrive. Yes, trans people succeeded. Yes, queer people were able to love each other. Yes, queer people were able to walk down the street hand in hand, kissing each other, so on and so forth. We need, yes, women were able to get abortions whenever they wanted to, for whatever reason they wanted to, or if they didn't want to, they didn't have to, but they had the choice to. Like, we need to write all this down. We need to capture it. We need to content create it, whatever needs to happen, you know. This is not like TikTok shit where we need to do a dance. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about revolution, and revolution, yes, in a sense where that maybe of upheaval, but I'm talking about also the type of revolution that's silent, where you work together in packs, where you are responsible for 5 or 6 people, and those 5 or 6 people are responsible for you. And then you go on to the next 5 or 6 people, and you make them responsible for each other. And then you start setting it up all around. So within like a let's say like a 5 mile radius, you have a network of people that you can call on, that you can check on. If anybody needs help, you can help them. If you need help, hopefully they can help you. If people need defending, if you need to warn people, so it works that way. That is silent revolution to me. And this is what I've been doing for a long time. Is I will have, so I will meet somebody, and I will have an intense conversation or a set of intense conversations. And in doing so, I will be able to understand more their beliefs. And when I say several, I mean 2 or 3, but they're like 2 3 hour long conversations, and we get deep into it. And that's what I like to do. Yeah, I can do small talk, but I want to know really what ticks you off. I want to know what makes you do the things you do. If you like paper mache, tell me for 6 hours. Tell me why you like paper mache. Like, I really want to know. Yeah, and I don't know, like, yeah, it's just people, people. This wh I don't even know what to say. This whole world is a fucking miracle, you know? And even if we're there, there may be 12 dimensions, so those 12 dimensions are miracles too. And I'm not talking about miracle in the Christian way. I mean, I guess that's where the term miracle comes from. I don't know, but it's just this whole beautiful expanse. And when you sit and think about it, it's kind of insane that at this point in time, we are all on this level, but we all could be on another level, and there could be wormholes that we could interdimensionally travel. Thank you, Jolie. But Yeah, like, and there are people who may think that's conspiracy theory, but I do, I think I've seen physics papers on it, like where they've been working on it in a physics sense, and that they have. I think they've proven 12 dimensions. I could be wrong, but it's just like astral travel and lucid dreaming, where people really did not believe it could be done until the CIA dropped that document that said they had been studying it for decades and had actually allowed people and people successfully did it, And I still have friends who are like, nah, this isn't true. And I'm like, y'all bitches, come on now. But yeah, so I don't know the natural world, and to believe that we are the only people on this on this planet. Yeah, okay, on this planet, fine. But in this universe, in this galaxy, to believe any of that, to believe we are the only people here is just so naive. And I believe, like, I think I heard Obama was like, yeah, they're aliens, but they're just not at like Area 51 or some shit like that. I think he actually said that, and like, I think it's already been released too, that aliens are like, or aliens extra, I don't know what you would call them, are true. Um, um, Julia, I am nowhere near as smart as that man. At least I don't think so. I don't know anything about astrophysics. Sparrows and finches, yeah. Oh, that's cute, Joe. I like that you have something that, like, moves you to tears. That's beautiful, I know that everybody has something that moves them to tears. For me, it's, you know I don't know, La Boheme from Puccini. Every time I hear, what's his name, Pavarotti sing, I start crying. I start crying pretty easily though, and I'm happy about that, because for a long time I couldn't access those feelings. I mean, it wasn't like I was this stoic, like really butchy dude. I was never that kind of guy. Um, but like when I started transitioning, so HRT, it has a way of allowing you to access feelings that may have buried for a long time. And I don't know if that's because it's the actual hormones, which I think, yes, the hormones have something to do with it, but it's also the fact that you're allowing yourself to express this as opposed to keeping it down. Having a good cry is great. And it's cathartic, it's what keeps us human, and it's what keeps us level. It's what keeps us understanding that the world is bigger than us and that there are just some things that we can't explain, and that's okay, and it's also good to just have a good cry, get it out, and be like, yes, this is beautiful. If I cry at beautiful things all the time, and I find a lot of things beautiful, and if I find something beautiful in someone, I will tell them, because I believe you should tell people that they are beautiful and that they do beautiful things. If you don't, you never know what could happen. You never know what could happen if you tell them that, though. But for me, just me saying that allows me to get it out that I believe in their beauty. It has nothing to do with trying to get with this person or anything like that. It has everything to do with respecting something that I see beautiful in them, Thank you, Jolie. What's up, Neuro D? How you doing? How you doing? I'm just up here chatting, just been rambling. But yeah, that's it is 1 hour 20 minutes, I think. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I thought my Baba was going to pop on right now, but he has not shown up. So I was going to talk with Bestie. I am going to see if she's around um, in a bit. But yeah, I just hopped on Substack just to rant and rave and talk, because I'm having fun. I realized that, first of all, I thought I would have to it's kind of funny because I started at Substack in October of last year. Um, and I did a live with Egg, I think in November. For I did may have done two, one in October, one in November, for pre FFS. And we didn't have the setup down or anything like that. We were using our phones, which made it a little bit worse. Um, and so and I didn't really like it. I do like writing, but what's happened is I find that I like actually talking, because I can talk, I can talk, and I like to talk. That's where I discover the most about people is talking. Like I said, intense conversations. I don't usually go for the 20-minute conversation with people, just shooting the shit and talking about weather. I can do it. I can probably do it with the best of them. That doesn't mean I want to. I want to know what makes your soul bleed. Tell me that. You know, tell me that. And then you know, let that energy flow between us. And that's what it's about. Okay. So I don't know. So I'm not going to say that because y'all will think I'm crazy, but energy is real. We all know this. And we all know that energy does not die, it just transitions. Um, so the exchange of energy is not all that surprising, especially when you're having deep conversations. I call it energy matching. That what you're doing is matching energy. You are flowing on the same state as someone else, and when you do that synergistically, things 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 happen. Things come out in conversation that would hardly ever come out. Things that lay is it lay or lie? I don't know, my English teacher would kill me. That lay buried, it's the things that are hidden, that are occult. It's the things that are hidden that people, finally, break out of, after an hour of intense conversation. They're like, "Well, shit, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about that, and we've been talking about this. Let me say this." Um and the reason why I say this is because last night I, so energetically, I felt this person needed to talk. Um, so I kind of popped onto their page, um, to their Facebook Messenger, and hit them up. And then they did not get back in touch with me. So I texted them and they texted me back immediately, and we started talking by text, and then I was like, "You know what? Something is a little off." So, we got into a secure chat. I should say it like that, a secure chat. And then they unloaded, you know, and that's where, I could feel the energy coming from them that something was going on. And then they unloaded, and I'm like, you know what? That's cool. People come to me for things like that. And I draw people who need someone they can talk to, that is not necessarily someone who's going to give away their secrets. I keep secrets well, and I'm not bragging or anything. Please don't take it as that. But I am someone who people do come to drop their secrets, and I have to learn to, and I'm having to learn to set boundaries, like hardcore boundaries, energetically speaking, not necessarily physically speaking. Because energetically, that shit's like I have been overwhelmed energetically several times, and it's not fun. It's almost like an attack, and like it's almost like a panic attack for me. But it's not a panic attack because I do have panic attacks. I know what they are, but so the energetic exchange is great. Some people talk about sex and the energetic exchange there. I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about two people sitting down and really getting into a conversation. It can be as good as sex. It can be. It can be as fulfilling. The desire to want to get down to the marrow, of this person, to understand intimately how they think, is something that means a lot to me, you know? And that's where I go back to poetry because that's what poetry is. No. Yes, 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 Rudy, yes. It is good to have boundaries too, yeah. Boundaries are important. So I can tell you all the story. There was one friend and they were pretty complicated, and that's fine. I deal with complicated people all the time. Um, this person had a bad childhood and had a child and was not doing well. Um, and they kept coming to me, but their energy was bad, you know? So every time they came to me after they left, I would feel bad, like physically sick. So um, it came to the point where everybody in my circle, and that not just the three that I know, like me, Mish, and Egg, not me at that point, but Mish and Egg, like every all the other people within their periphery blocked this person. So at that point I was like, okay, yeah, toxic, exactly. I was like, I'm gonna give this person a shot, because I feel like in some ways I'm called to help people, and if they need help, let me do this. So I tried to, but wow, like there was one point where it was just so bad, like, and it felt like this black cloud was attacking me, and it felt like my stomach was going down, and it felt like my heart was racing, and I was just like, this cannot happen. And so I got my smoky quartz crystal, and I tried to ground myself with some breathing, and I was stomping on the ground. Um but I finally came down, but it was rough. So I had to cut her off, for the sake of myself. For the sake of myself, like, and to keep my energy clean. That the you know so I do believe in energy. I do believe in energy transfer. I do believe that people can manipulate energy. I do believe that people can read auras. I do believe everything like that, because I know it. That's when if you if you know it intimately, then you know it's true. Like, and that's not to say I'm special. That's to say anybody can do this, with the proper training. And that doesn't mean training by someone else. It means like with the proper like reading and understanding of how you develop your abilities. Everybody is born with abilities. It's just how you develop them. Some people's are stronger because of whether it be childhood trauma, which can inform a lot of abilities because childhood trauma, kids are used to, picking up cues, verbal, physical, mental, so on and so forth, all kinds of cues as to when to hide, stay safe, stay big, so on and so forth, stay safe. Um, so yeah, there are people whose intuitive abilities are strong. I know several people. Um, One person I know, his abilities were so strong that he told me basically the very first day we met, he told me we would have an intense relationship, and he told me that he knew exactly how it was gonna end, but he couldn't tell me. And that's how all intuitives are. Okay, I shouldn't say all. I know, like, 15, um, maybe. Um, and that's how all of them are, because I've had readings from them all. None of them knew me. Um, and they all pretty much said the same thing about me. So I'm not going to tell y'all that. That's not anything that y'all need to know. But what they said was 100%. I knew it before they said it, and they would not have known it. Uh, so um, I do tend to believe that, and the person who told me how our relationship was going to last, and how it would end, was pretty much spot on. Like, the relationship was super intense, as most of my relationships tend to be. Um, so it was super intense, and then it, just kind of ended, just kind of ended. It wasn't like we fought. It wasn't like we were, like, fizzling out. It just stopped, you know? It just stopped, and that was it. And, like, about a month later, I contacted this guy, and I was like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing? I see you're on the same site that I'm on." And he was like, "Yeah, good, good, good. I'll call you when I'm ready." And right when he said that, I knew it was like, "Nah, we're not gonna talk to each other ever again." And I haven't talked to him, and I will probably never talk to him again. Not because I don't want to, but because he told
Bluetooth
me exactly
disconnected.
what was gonna happen.
Bluetooth connected.
Okay, Bluetooth connected again. I think my shit's going down, y'all. So I'm gonna have to say good night. Thank you for everybody joining. We have to be hyper vigilant as kids in traumatic childhood. Yes, yes, 100% true. So it's a lot. I'm also the kind of person people share very personal things. Yeah. So well, that's good to hear, Jolie. It takes a certain person to be able to take on other people's problems, issues, concerns, and not get weighed down by it, and try
Bluetooth
to
disconnected. Bluetooth connected.
my Bluetooth is going down. Okay, y'all. I'm gonna have to call it a night, but Jolie, I understand. Thank you so much. Everybody in the chat, NeuroD, thank you. Everybody else, the 9 other people who are in the chat, I think Joe's in here too. I don't remember everyone else who came in. I appreciate it. It's been an hour and a half. I'm gonna go. Let's end it with no trash, no transphobia, no
Bluetooth
racism, no
disconnected.
ableism,
Bluetooth connected.
no sexism, no homophobia, fuck Trump, and fuck ICE. All right, y'all. Have a good night.